Okay, hey, I'm Abby. I'm here to talk to you about Semantic HTML. What, why, and how. What? 2 rules. Use HTML elements for their intended purpose. Separate content from presentation. Why, you ask? HTML will do your work for you. It's important for accessibility. It'll give you better SEO. You'll write more consistent code, and more consistent code is easier to style and it's easier to read. How? Start with 2 general tips. Whenever you reach for a diverse span, see if there's an element that you could use that has more meaning or would give you more utility. And then if you're going to build it, I'm talking progress bars, I'm talking pickers. See if HTML does it first. Now let's talk about how your sectioning and heading elements work together to create a document outline for your page. This is the main purpose of Semantic HTML for utility, just like for accessibility. And we're trying to create a document outline just like you would in a Google Doc using the headings. The little outline shows up to the left. You want that to make sense for a screen reader, to make it easier for screen reader users to navigate your page. You start with your root structure. You got your doc type HTML that tells machines this is an HTML document. You got your HTML tag, tell machines the language you're using for your page, your head tag, which we will talk about next, and then your body tag, which wraps all your content. In your head tag, you got a lot of stuff that will help with your SEO. Don't forget your title, keep it descriptive, under 60 characters, include the brand if you've got one. This is where you put your link that has your fave icon, which is the Abbey logo that shows up in the tab at the top of the browser window. You've got several meta tag types that you can put in here. Description and keywords, search engines are getting better and better at this, so they're almost going obsolete. But if there's some keywords that you don't think search engines will pick up and you want to include in your page, definitely do that. The open graph will tell Facebook and other social media how to display your page. The Twitter cards will tell Twitter how to display your page. And robots will tell web scrapers what they can and can't do with the information on your page. Script tag with schema markup will tell search engines how to display your website and their search results. And don't forget your meta name equals viewport. This tells search engines that your site is responsive, which they use when weighting your site in their search results, and will tell devices not to resize your viewport, which could mess up your styling. Landmark roles like main, header, and footer should only appear once per page. Start at the top, and I don't mean presentationally it's at the top. I mean the stuff that you want to see at the top of your page across your whole website, like your logo, a header, or a heading. Those things go in your header tag. Your main is the main point of your page. That's where all of your good content goes. Footer is bottom of the page things. Once again, I'm not saying bottom presentationally. I'm saying when you go to a company's website and you scroll all the way to the bottom to look for their careers page, that's the kind of footer content you're looking for. Your copyright, your authorship, some contact, maybe some more nav, maybe a link to the top. Nav wraps any navigation menus. I'm not talking about lists and links. I'm talking about navigating between pages in your website. Wrap your text in your Ps, make your lists with your ULs and your OLs, and your list items. These elements in particular were a little confusing for me when I started learning them. Article should be like a blog post. If it's in your page and you could yeet it into a completely different website and it would still make sense, that's what you wrap an article. Section groups content together along the same theme, and can go inside article, can go inside main, whatever you want. An aside is stuff that isn't the main content, but is complementary. You nested it in the element that it's related to, and it's used a lot for sidebar, but that's a presentational concept. So to put this in perspective, say I'm making a website that is a encyclopedia. You're on the page about emperor penguins. My whole blog about how cool emperor penguins are is going to be an article. There may be a section in that article about like, oh, their egg laying habits, that's cool. And then if I wanted to include a list of links to all the other kinds of penguins you might find cool, once you're done reading about how cool emperor penguins are, that would go in an aside. Now we got to talk about headings. In ascending order, starting with H1, one and only one H1. Then in the HTML5 spec, they were like, hey, section's going to reorder headings. It's going to be great. Browsers never implemented it. Don't skip levels. We're trying to make that outline make as much sense as possible. And there's rarely any reason to go below H3. If you want to increase your SEO, use consistent query-like headings. Once you're done, check your outline. Navigate it with a screen reader. I talked about you only need one landmark role per page. I'm talking about ARIA landmark roles. You can add that manually using the role attribute. So a screen reader would read navigation to a user for both div role equals navigation and nav, but you should use nav. Separate content and presentation. EM will give you italicized text, but it will also tell a screen reader that the text has been emphasized. Strong will produce bolded text, but it will also tell a screen reader that the text is added importance. Don't use EM strong B or I to change the presentation of your font. Use CSS for that. Never build a button. Please never build a button. Please just use button. Please just use button. Screen readers treat links and buttons very, very differently. They have different built-in properties, different behaviors, different states. Links will be grouped together with other links. Buttons and inputs are in tab order, so a keyboard user can just tab straight to it and then interact with it with enter in space. And then links don't have that functionality, but they will provide SEO for your links. Finally, well, almost finally, give the machines more information. If you wrap some contact information in address and then put it in your footer, machines automatically know that that is the contact information for the owner of the web page. You can tell machines that this is date and time. You can tell machines, well, you should always define your abbreviations for both machines and for people. You can define other stuff. You can use pre and code to make your own formatted code blocks. You can tell a machine that it's a variable using var. You can tell a machine that it's machine readable data using data. And then let HTML elements do the work for you. We talk about how button has that built-in focusable. Input has 21 different types. Some of those types have built-in validation. So like if you have type equals email, it will check to see if it's an email format for you, what the user enters being it. Input will give you file pickers, it'll give you date pickers, it'll give you a ton of cool stuff. Summary and details will create a toggle for you with no effort. Picture, if you wrap a bunch of images and source elements and give it some queries, will allow you to do both progressive enhancement and responsive images based on what is happening when the user is looking at your web page. And iframe can be used to trap remote code or untrusted user input in a separate context from your page for security reasons. And so much more. There are around 100 semantic HTML elements. I have a whole blog on this that goes over a lot of things. There are code pens with all 21 types of input, etc. More information on how to enrich your content with HTML, more elements that do a bunch of work for you. And I go over forms, tables, labels, and more. Thanks.